I'm under a roof here. It's a public toilet. I don't want to spend the night here.
No.
Hello and welcome to episode 89 of Bicycle Touring Talk. My name is George Schlackeck, and I rode my bicycle coast to coast across Canada once, from the west coast of Vancouver Island all the way to the east coast of Newfoundland. Yeah, there were some ferries involved. This series covers parts of the tour in chronological order. Today, we're starting in Iron Bridge, Ontario, where I had arrived the previous day, soaked to the bone by more or less constant rain. Thursday, July 13th, 2017, I woke up at the Village Inn Motel. When I looked outside the window, it was raining heavily. How was my trip going to continue in this shitty weather, and when was this going to end?
Wow.
I took my time getting up. There were a bunch of things I had to do online. The internet connection worked well at the Village Inn. I took advantage of it and booked a flight to Toronto for Barbara using my Aventura points. I now had to arrive in Toronto on the evening of the 18th, so I could meet her there, and then we could figure things out. The plan was for her to cycle with me along Lake Ontario. It meant that we'd have to find her a suitable bike locally, since she wasn't going to bring hers on a plane by herself. When I eventually got out of my room, it was still raining.
Well, I'm still in Iron Bridge, and by the looks of it, I'm facing another day of riding in the rain. I just checked out of this motel, and it's almost tempting to extend my stay for another day, but what am I going to do in there, right? I'm going to get over to the diner here, have a late breakfast, early lunch kind of deal, and then we'll see. Maybe the rain's going to taper off.
I simply pushed the bike over to the diner next door and had breakfast. An omelette with all the trimmings was only $8, and the coffee was good and hot. While I was enjoying the meal, the rain finally stopped. The sky looked very cloudy, but that by itself wasn't going to affect my ride. I got on the bike and headed east on Highway 17. Right away I noticed that this wasn't going to be an easy one. Traffic was heavy and there was no shoulder to speak of.
So I'm on Highway 17 now. It's a much different battle from the last few days. See, I still don't have a very wide shoulder to ride on, and as you may notice as I'm talking to you, the traffic is much heavier. I cannot get away with veering onto the road every so often like I did on that lonely road up there.
Most of the time I was riding on a narrow piece of crumbling pavement next to the white line. Most vehicles made a wide loop around me, but some came much too close for comfort, which wasn't really avoidable when there was oncoming traffic. I told myself I'd be done with Highway 17 once I reached route number 6, which was only about a day's ride away. I was determined to get to Espanola that day, but it turned out to be a little too far considering the late start. Along the way, I met other cyclists, which was a nice change from the lonely secondary highways I had traveled since Wawa. First, there was a couple from Korea who were going in the opposite direction. Then, outside a grocery store in Blind River, I met a guy from Ontario who was planning on cycling to Burnaby, BC. The next one was from Germany, also going west. It is always fun to meet other cyclists because you can share information about the road ahead for each other and have a good conversation with someone who's like-minded in a way. You have something in common regardless of where you're from or what might have brought you here. I was really hungry when I got to the rest area at the turnoff for Elliott Lake. Just as I pulled in, it was starting to rain again. I used the bathroom and eventually chose a picnic table under a tree that wouldn't get wet right away. Instead of cooking a hot meal on my stove, I made sandwiches.
The weather was okay, but it started raining again, and it doesn't seem to get any less. It seems to get more again, so I really don't know what I'm gonna do later on. It's already 5 o'clock here. You know, I could go camping, I guess. I'm not allowed to camp here because there's signs everywhere. But yeah, not gonna be pretty.
The rain never really got that heavy, so I was just gonna have to ride in it some more. At least the headwind I had been fighting calmed down a bit. Then I passed another cyclist with a loaded bike. It turned out that he was from Victoria, BC, also on a tour across Canada, going east, just like me. We had a brief conversation about where to stay for the night, and he told me about a provincial park he was looking for. I was set on saving my money that night and making it at least to the town of Massey. I eventually got there. Once again, I was tired of the Trans-Canada Highway, and according to my map, there was supposed to be an alternate road from here on leading directly to Espanola. It was very cloudy and dark enough to call it a day, but where was I gonna stay? I found a place I thought to be the visitor center when it started raining heavily again.
Yeah, I'm in Massey, Ontario. It's 8 o'clock or a little bit later even, and I just sort of got here a few minutes ago. And the rain wasn't too bad when I got here, but now it's picking up. I'm under a roof here.
This really wasn't fun anymore, but I found shelter under a roof that belonged to what I thought was the visitor center, but in reality, all it was a public toilet. That was all there was, and so there was no free camping there. I just made it out of the rain and under that roof. At least I had temporary shelter and a blow dryer. My clothes were wet, but more from sweating than the rain itself. A waterproof jacket can be quite good at keeping you dry in light rain, but it also traps moisture coming from the inside when you're riding hard. Once you stop, this can get very uncomfortable. Fast.
I have no idea where I'm gonna sleep tonight. It is raining, but it's light rain. You know, I might be able to set up the tent somewhere if I find a good spot. But it's not gonna be very pleasant at all. I just don't want to spend another night in a motel because it's getting expensive.
Eventually, the rain stopped again. I really didn't feel like camping and even considered setting up the sleeping bag under that roof by the toilets. This would have been real hobo style, and I probably wouldn't have slept very well because there was truck parking there too. Once it started to get dark, 2 young girls showed up to use the bathroom before standing outside sucking on cigarettes. When I asked them if they were from the area, they nodded, and one started joking about
the grand town of Massey.
That broke the ice, and now they wanted to know what I was up to. Are there any places around here where I could camp for the night? Yes, there was a provincial park just on the other side of the highway called the Chutes. I remembered the guy from BC talking about that and half decided to go there too. Then one of the girls said that I could
definitely get away with stealth camping
in the open field just across from the park, as people did this quite often and nobody seemed to care. It was seriously getting dark and I was glad that this field was nearby. The grass was tall and wet. I pushed the bike to the edge behind some bushes where no one would notice me till morning. Setting up the tent wasn't so bad, and once it was done, it was comfortable enough. But I really didn't feel so well. Even in my sleeping bag, I was now shivering and my throat was sore. Was I gonna get sick? Did I overdo the cycling in the rain? I hadn't had a rest day in weeks, and now I had a deadline to get to Toronto. How crazy was that, and would I be able to carry on the same way? Did you notice there wasn't any real footage of the road in this one? This is mostly because of the weather, but also because I was focused on getting off the Trans-Canada Highway as soon as possible and not too concerned with capturing it. Massey was to be the turn-off point. Was it? Well, please give me a thumbs up and join me for the next episode, number 90, here next Saturday. Why not subscribe and hit the bell notification so you'll remember? Thank you. You might also want to check out my growing playlist displayed right here.